Hello, everybody. I am very excited for this call today. I've been waiting to do an advancement focused webinar for some time. So, very excited to have you all here. I'm Amy. I am a customer success manager here at Mongoose, and I will be leading today with a couple of my team members. We're going to just quickly talk through our frequently asked questions or a little bit of housekeeping for today. We're going to encourage you to use the chat as much or as little as you'd like. We know in advancement, we love to get ideas and inspiration from others. So if our conversation sparks something that you have done or an idea that you have while we go through our call, please share it in the chat. Or if you have questions, drop those in the chat as well. Josh, our support specialist, will be working with you and answering and also asking questions in the chat. This session is being recorded as well, and so you will have access to this webinar after the call, but you are also welcome to share it with any of your team members or colleagues who might take advantage or find value from this conversation. Also, I want to encourage you to share about your usage of Mongoose on social media with the hashtag Mongoose. We are always excited to hear how our partners are using Mongoose and how it is benefiting their teams, supporting their institutions, and just helping the overall experience for your students. From there, I'd love to jump into our intros. Like I said, I'm Amy. I am a customer success manager here at Mongoose. I was actually in your shoes. I used Mongoose in the advancement space to connect with my alumni, donors, and constituents. And so, very excited to continue to work with all of our advancement partners. I'm going to pass it over to Kimberly now.
Thanks, Amy. Hi, everyone. My name is Kimberly Reynolds, hailing from North Carolina. I joined Mongoose earlier this year as an account manager for the Northeast. Really excited to hear what our panelists have to say today and communicate and interact with you all, especially in the chat. Really excited for today's webinar. With that being said, I'm going to pass it to Josh.
Thanks, Kimberly. Like Amy said, my name's Josh, and I'm a product support specialist. So I am here to assist you all in the chat with any technical questions, as well as taking any questions for our panelists that I'll share with our hosts at the end. So if you have any questions that you would like to pose to the group at large, definitely send them my way. As Amy said, we love to share ideas and crowdsource during these things. So I will be in the chat. See you there.
Awesome. Thank you, Kimberly and Josh. I'm going to pass it to our panel now. We have some amazing panelists joining you today that are some of your peers doing the amazing work at their institutions to advance their schools. So I'm going to kick it off with Aaron, let Aaron share about himself, and then Emily, if you want to speak and finish with Kate before we jump into our roundtable.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Aaron Arsenault. I am the annual giving officer here at Lamar University. We are located in Beaumont, Texas. In case you don't know where that's located, we're about an hour and a half southeast of Houston. I've been in the advancement world for 6 years now. So I started in 2020. It's easy to remember that because of the of the pandemic, but I love everything that we do here at LU. I love advancement. I've dabbled in a lot of areas in higher ed. So collectively in higher ed, I've worked 13 years now in higher ed, which is crazy to even to say that out loud. But advancement by far is my absolute favorite. We've partnered with Mongoose Cadence for about, I guess, 5 years now, if my timeline is correct, and love everything about it. So I'm super excited to be here and talk about my experience and answer any questions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Reed, and I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement at Brenau University. We're in Gainesville, Georgia, not Florida. And it's very hot here today, but I'm so excited to be chatting with you all. I've been in higher education about 15 years, and I've been in advancement for almost 10. So I started using Mongoose when I was at Yale, and I moved back down to Georgia for family. And in my interview, they're like, "What is one thing you absolutely have to have?" And I was like, "Texting." And I knew exactly who to call on for that. I think it really builds relationships, and I'm sure we'll get into all of that, but very excited to be here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kate Flynn. I am with Carnegie Mellon University. I'm the Associate Director of Digital Marketing and Social Strategy for our advancement wing. I've been here for 5.5 years. Texting is a part of my portfolio. I also manage social, web, email, a whole plethora of tools that all complement each other. Texting has become my favorite since I've taken over it within the past year or two. It is really such a wonderful way to build direct relationships with people. So I'm excited to dive into this and share some perspectives on what we've done.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Erin. We are excited to kick off this discussion now. So, first question of the day, I am going to start with Kate, and I would love to know, as teams start planning for their fall engagement campaigns, how does texting fit into the broader communication mix, along with email and phone and social media?
Yeah, so texting has quickly become my personal favorite. I would say it ties for email in terms of how important it is to us. Because with email, we know we're getting directly into their inbox. We know we're directly able to target based on class years and preferences and the networks that they're part of. With texting, it's so much more conversational that we're able to actually invite a two-way interaction. It's not just about push messaging, come to this event, make this donation, etc. We're really starting to think about what we can invite alumni to share with us and what they can ask of us. It's an information sharing platform, so around commencement, around homecoming, around all of our major events. We make this really a hotline for people to be able to figure out parking for major events on campus. If we're doing a social media kind of a collection of memories, we'll text our alumni and say, share a photo from your time on campus. Ahead of giving CMU Day, this is a crucial way for us to kind of hype up our audience. And then on the day of, it has really moved the needle in terms of targeting specific audiences and being able to get them to make that commitment, whether they're on the go or in commutes or in a meeting, being able to get directly into their phone, which we all know our phone is right there next to us throughout the day, like a constant companion. Being able to get that message directly through at crucial points in the day, at crucial points in our marketing calendar. It's such a direct and impactful piece. Email will always be probably the leader in terms of how we start our strategy, but texting is really picking up speed in terms of how reliable and impactful it is.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Erin, I'd love to hear if you have anything to add.
Yeah, all that was great, Kate. So for for my area in for what I do here, we really don't use text messaging in my fall or my spring campaigns for any hard asks. I learned my lesson. I did that a few years ago, and our opt-out rate was extremely high. So like, oh, maybe we should not do that. So again, I don't really use it for any hard asks in my appeal campaigns. Now our Office of Alumni, they use it tremendously in the same ways that you just mentioned, Kate. And so they do a lot of congratulations and welcoming to the Cardinal family, around commencement, graduation. Homecoming is huge as well. Now going back to annual giving, in my world, I do use it for our annual day of giving, which is called Red Day, which is next month. We have it every year in September, around our founding day. And I do utilize text messaging tremendously in that. And I'll can go into more detail about that, as the webinar continues, but I do use it tremendously for that as well.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We are going to move on to the next question. And Emily, I am going to have you kick this one off if that's all right. So I would love to know, what does the planning timeline look like for a fall texting campaign? And when should teams really start building their strategy?
So we really don't try to reinvent the wheel every year unless we have to. Obviously, we're open to making tweaks, but as far as like Giving Tuesday is concerned, our reunions are in the spring. So Giving Tuesdays in the fall, we really kind of focus on that. So we already have our calendar ready to go. We have like a early donation window. So as soon as that window opens, we send out a text. And we obviously text on that day as well. Part of Brenau, we're kind of quirky. We have a lot of permanent art, and we give out a calendar to all of our donors. So it's kind of like, get your calendar early, little things like that. But then as for like my team and alumni in general, we try to make the events that they want to see, events that align with our goals. And then we kind of go through the strategy of like, how do we get people there? We really kind of use texting to push attendance. Emails go out monthly. So we're not trying to like spam people. When we communicate, we want it to feel like important.
Definitely. It sounds like you have two birds, one text campaign, and you're able to do that all at the same time. That's wonderful. Erin, would love to hear any additional thoughts that you and Lamar might have on that.
Yeah, again, we don't use text messaging in our fall and spring campaigns, but if I had to weigh in on this, I would say, a month before, preferably two, is a good time to start that planning process, if not even more than that. For Red Day, I will typically start, building that text messaging comp plan about 2 months out. And then, starting with the save the dates, and then we do a thing called Red Day Champion. So I send out a text message inviting those to be a Red Day champion for that Red Day. And then, we do the day of, and then I do like updates every now and then, text messaging updates throughout the day about, if you sign up to be a champion for, let's say, athletics, I will give you text messaging updates, where donor count, dollar count, things like that throughout the day as well. So, but I would think building out that comp plan or that timeline, month, 2 months before a campaign is pretty good.
Great. Thank you. Thank you both.
I want to know, how do you all decide which audiences or donor segments are the right fit for text outreach versus your other channels of communication? Emily, before we met and we went through our answers, we loved what you shared. So if you don't mind sharing how you discern what to do, we would love to hear that.
Absolutely. So for giving, we do have like periodic campaigns throughout the year. One that's upcoming is our Greek week. We have a Greek community here that's pretty big. So we obviously segment by sororities for that one. But then we funnel right into Giving Tuesday, and we segment whether you have participated in Giving Tuesday before. If they haven't, we split it up by your experience at Brenau. So, like, have you been to class on ground? Were you an online person, undergrad, grad? We have a women's college here, and that's a very tight-knit community. So they want to see certain things from us with certain language, all these different communities. So we try to include all of that for them, and whether you're a donor or a non-donor. So I know that's a lot, but it really does move the needle for us. And then as far as events go, I just try to target like the location. Obviously, I'm not going to invite you to the Atlanta event if you're in, Washington, D.C. That might be a drive. For larger reunions, if you're having a milestone reunion, you're obviously going to hear from us, plus anybody in the surrounding states. And then again, we just kind of email once a month to our alums, with exception of big reunions or presidential communications and Giving Tuesday.
I love how strategic you are and just making sure that you're reaching as many audiences in a way that fits them, depending on, when they graduated, where they live, what event they might be interested in. Erin, I know your day of giving is less than a month away now, so share how you plan to segment and target audiences with messaging for your day of giving.
Yeah, for sure. So specifically, I want to target those who have made a gift. So this is our sixth Red Day. We started back in 2021. Yeah. And so what I always do is I target those who have made a gift before on Red Day specifically. And then as far as champions are concerned, I always target those who graduated with us, with one of our certain academic colleges. So, College of Fine Arts and Communication, Arts and Sciences, things like that, that I'll break that down as well. If they were involved in any sort of student organization, like, cheer, the band, football, things like that, that I'll break those down as well. And I do some targeted outreach to them.
Very awesome. I love that you have a fall giving day because it's super timely. We have some institutions that do a fall day of giving, but then we have another group that does spring day of giving, but then we also have Giving Tuesday and end of year giving. And so while all of us have these different larger campaigns where we're utilizing text messaging, it's interesting to hear how each school does it differently. So thanks for sharing.
Great. We are going to move on to our next segment. I personally have been really looking forward to hearing all of these responses about crafting messages that work. We often hear this, how can we keep our opt-outs low and our engagement high? So really excited to hear from our panelists for the next few questions. Kate, I would love to hear from you. So the question is, what separates a text message that gets a warm response from one that gets completely ignored or even worse, opted out?
Yeah, so as far as opting out, we have definitely done sort of a trial and error, trial by fire situation with actually having two different texting inboxes, one for events and communications and one for annual giving. We realized that the annual giving opt-out rate was so much higher because we were never giving them anything. We were only asking from that number. And it's very easy to unsubscribe from a number that is only ever asking you for something. So we merged the two inboxes. All of our messaging comes from one number now. And we have plenty of time to think about, what are we giving our audience? Are we giving them something of value? Is it something that is useful, like a link that we're constantly being asked for, like the Career and Professional Development Center, or resources for internships for our recent grads? Is it something that is warm and fuzzy, like a collection of photos from our spring carnival, which is like our reunion on steroids for the spring? Is it a giveaway? Giveaways are never a bad idea. If you have a storage closet full of t-shirts, you can give away 10. And your audience really feels like, hey, I was seen, I was acknowledged. This was a fun little activity that I got to participate in. Now I'm receptive to hearing more from this number. And they might not automatically become a star donor on your giving day. They might not automatically run back to campus and volunteer for their reunion weekend just because you asked from that number, but they're probably going to give you a little bit more grace if you have already considered what is the value that you are offering to them in your messaging strategy, and not just what you want to receive from them or what goals you want to accomplish from messaging them.
Great. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I love free swag. Give me a t-shirt. I'm a much nicer person, I promise. Hey, thank you so much for sharing. Emily, anything that you would add to that when it comes to what separates a text message from a great response versus getting an opt-out?
Yeah, my whole team knows we've got to put like the human touch on our messages. Our community, again, really chatty, really unique. So yeah, definitely 100% got the, is this like AI when we first started? And I'm like, no. In fact, it was really great. I was at an event and the text message was going out. And I was beside an alum who got a message from me. And I was like texting her back beside her. So it was really funny. Not AI. A lot of times our replies do clear that up. We include emojis and just little things that we know they know it's us because we know them. um yeah, I think that really helps. Like people might respond to giving like solicitations like, I really just don't have it. I'm like, yeah, me either. You never know how they'll read it, but you can kind of have fun with it and be like, we totally understand. No worries. We hope to see you at, alumni reunion weekend. Like you can just have fun with it. And I think that's how you get those two-way communications.
I think to
Def-
kind of summarize what, sorry, Kimberly,
You're okay.
but to summarize what Emily and Kate said, something that I have learned from working in advancement, but also talking to all of our partners, is so many of the people we're working with that are alumni or donors or even just friends of our institutions, they just want to belong. And when we can craft messages and when we can steward and bring value and be human, like Emily said, it helps the people on the receiving end of our messages feel like, oh, I belong and I'm a part of something. And they want to include me and they want to show me value. And so that can really go a long way. So I love hearing both of your responses. I'd love to hear from all three of you now. What do like the bones of a good message that isn't spammy? What does that sound like? So Emily, if you want to start and share, what do you try and put in every message? What is your message structure that helps that message be received well?
So we always start out with saying hi and then put the preferred name, the nickname. So it feels like, we do know you because we do. Start there. We always like introduce ourselves. I don't care if I've texted you 40 times now. This is Emily, and I'm in the Brenau Alumni office. Um, that way, there's just no confusion. They have my name there if they want to be like, oh, hey, Emily, they don't have to remember my name. And then again, just like if I can include any photos. So I text about alumni trips, I will include that flyer. Sometimes it helps to see it. A lot of times I do not ever include a link. I always ask, do you want the link? Can I send you more information? That helps with reply rates. And it helps with asking any follow-up questions. So a lot of times I'm like, can I bring my family? Are my friends able to come to this event and things like that? So they can just ask all the questions. Of course, that doesn't always help with like your smart responses. And it's not like a yes. It's like, oh, I have 50 questions, but that's good. They get some talking and they can ask their questions. And again, some of the best things have come out of these questions. Like, can I start a scholarship? Do you have matching gift opportunities? Like all of these things. That's how you get to those great instances.
We love when people ask us if they can make a gift or start a scholarship. That is
Right.
that is the best. And just coming from text, that's huge. Kate, what would you add? What does your message structure look like?
Yes, ours is almost identical. Introduce yourself. Proofreading and making sure that there are no mistakes, especially with that preferred name field, is so critical. With a previous partner, we actually did have one go out that said, hello, preferred first name. Not a good look. So I can confidently say I did not touch that one. But we did get a huge response of people saying like, oh, you don't know my first name. So making sure that everything has been tested. We have like an internal testing audience to make sure that we have all of the links correct, no errors, no mistakes. So yeah, just making sure that everything is branded as much as possible. We also learned that any sort of like GIF that has rotating photos, for a while we were doing like a mini photo album from events or promoting events where we would show a couple of photos in sequence. A couple of carriers, it would speed through so quickly that we got a huge response saying, please don't send this, it's a seizure warning. So that's another area that we're really conscientious of learning. If our audience is responding and saying, here's something that went wrong with your message, making sure that yourself and any other partners that are using this platform are adhering to those best practices. So keeping an updated document, doing regular trainings, and making sure that any of the best practices that have been learned along the way are frequently communicated.
That's great feedback to share, but also great that your audience is so willing to share that feedback with you, that your recipients are like, don't send us that. That's not anything we want to receive. Awesome. Aaron, what would you add? What does your message structure look like?
Yeah, same, same thing. We try to keep it as personal as possible, making it short, not super information heavy, using that preferred salutation, preferred name, if you will. Just, again, making it sound personal, introducing yourself, like both of you just mentioned. Same thing. I think it was either Kate or Emily mentioned, always saying who you are, because I mean, they may have erased your number. So it's always nice to say, hey, so and so, this is Aaron from Lamar University, blah blah blah, whatever. And I may sound like a broken record here, but I primarily use this for um, you know, birthdays. So every Monday morning, I send out or I schedule out for the week our birthday text messages. Always include a little, fun emoji like a pop confetti emoji or something like that. And man, those are wildly popular, and people love getting those messages. Like, oh my gosh, I haven't heard from LU in years. Thank you so much for that. It just means a lot to them. Getting those open-ended questions. When's the last time you visited campus? Just asking questions like that. I get a ton of responses like, it's been 15, 20 years. Well, you need to come see it. It is like completely changed since the last time you stepped foot on campus. So, just having those fun conversations like that. But again, keeping it super personal. Making it sound like you're an actual human, and so it's crazy how many times I get a phone call from someone, because anytime somebody will call the number that it's routed to my office phone here, and I'll get a call and it's like, oh, I just want to make sure that it was actually you. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, but again, just making it sound personal and human is always key for sure.
Thanks, everyone. We actually had a question come in through the chat. I'm gonna throw you guys a curveball, but it's quite timely. Hannah from St. Olaf asks, can you walk me through your process for writing clear, high-impact messages when you have strict character limits? And this is for all three of you or anyone who might want to chime in and help her out.
I really think again, like use the photos. Like we do flyers for events too, and so that can provide a lot of information that you don't have to use characters for. Same thing with like my trips, but if I'm doing a regional event and I don't see these people maybe as much as my normal Gainesville folks, I'll put my face on it. I'll put my whole team that's going to be there. That way, like when we meet you at the restaurant or wherever, you kind of know who I am a little bit. I think there's a lot to be said with some attachments. But again, hey, can I send you more info? Again, you can just keep that conversation going. I try to always be very transparent. If there's any cost, which most of our stuff is free, but I'm like open to all, like some keywords in there. That way, maybe you can clear up some things. Of course, we want people to ask us questions, but at least it maybe kind of keeps it a little concise and transparent.
Yeah, piquing the interest on the first message is really the key, providing just enough information within that character limit. And I always make sure to write my drafts in the Mongoose platform. I had a couple of partners who would write them in a Google Doc or a Word doc, and it would be so overly lengthy and so overly formal that I finally said, you must write it and then copy paste it into a document for approvals. So it's a little bit of a sort of a backwards process there, but it's easier to get it right the first time in terms of character count. Also directing to a landing page that has all of the information that they're going to need generally suffices in terms of leaving an air of mystery, giving them something to do to follow that link. And I do fully agree with Emily in that the first message, we do a lot of smart messages to reduce any friction in terms of how they respond. So if they respond to A, yes, please send me more information. B is I can't go, and we'll send the event calendar instead and say, here are some other options, hope to see you there. And C is we've already registered, and we respond like, great, can't wait to connect with you. So where there's a will, there's a way. It is definitely a labor of love to meet those character limits, but you got to do what you got to do. It is called a short messaging service after all.
Yeah, no, for sure. Great points for both of you guys. And something, I would like to mention is also putting it in an actual platform itself. Kate is smart and, obviously, but also something that I typically do is using, I hate to say, but Chat GPT, and going there and just saying, hey, if a message is longer, you're wanting to send a message and it is longer than the character count, maybe going in there just saying, hey, using it as what I think as how it should be, as a tool to help you and say, hey, make this, take this message, make it more concise, 160 character limit or whatever it is. I think it's 160. And just, again, making it personal, kind of helping you do that as well. Sometimes that helps.
This is a great plug for our AI tool in the Compose button. I call them by the technical term purple sparkles. So the next time you log in, go to Compose and then choose your inbox, either your personal or your shared. And you'll see at the bottom there's purple sparkles. Click on those. And you don't even have to go to chat, Erin. You can do it right in the platform and ask, can you shorten this message? And it will shorten it for you. So
that's great to know. Thank you.
you're welcome.
We're all about working smarter, not harder, right? Yeah, we do not have limitless hours in the day. Thank you all for chiming in on that question from the audience. Next question that I have for you all. Can you share any trends that you've noticed with your audience when it comes to timing or message type that you find most effective? Kate, I'm gonna throw the ball to you.
Yeah, so we do rely pretty heavily on smart messages. In our planning calendar, we have a field for message type so that we're able to see at a glance, are these all smart messages or are we mixing it up a little bit? Otherwise, we would only do smart messages because they're so useful and it does take a lot of the burden off of the responding team to send every single response. One trend that we have noticed is that when we do ask people to respond A, B, C, or D, they'll respond A and C. And the smart message is not quite smart enough to send both links at the same time. So we pre-write all possible responses. And that's another avenue for AI to be able to support you to create all of the different permutations that somebody may respond with. Also having an FAQ doc that your responding team can rely on. Questions about parking for commencement or questions about the time of the football game during homecoming. Those sorts of things that you can anticipate will be asked and that you can anticipate giving the answer directly. Creating templates for all of those year after year is going to be useful. You'll have more insight if you're keeping your campaigns fairly consistent from one year to the next. Okay, what was asked of us that we didn't expect last year? How do we anticipate and get ahead of that this year?
I love that. Just continuing to pivot, plot twist, and execute. Yeah, Erin, Emily, anything additional you'd like to add?
Emily,
And
did you want?
I'll just add that I really do appreciate the annual reviews that Mongoose provides because we had a feeling that our group was like us and, my team. We take a little bit of time in the morning to get our act together. So we're a lunch afternoon group. We send out our texts and then we get all the text messages back. So we're not like early birds over here at Brenau. And we have found that Tuesdays are the chatty days. So I encourage everybody to kind of look at those annual reviews and see what works best for your community because they were right on the money for us. So it was good to kind of confirm that.
Me personally, I haven't really been able to figure out like a good best time that works. Specifically for like my happy birthday messages. I have found out that on the weekends though, however, sending a message out at noon on Saturdays and about 1 o'clock on Sundays, I get a huge response rate. Um, Throughout the week, I try to do it between 11 and 12. That's whenever most people are going to lunch or they're able to be on their phone. But the weekends for sure, Saturdays 12 o'clock, and then Sundays about 1 o'clock I get a huge response rate on those two times.
I love hearing that you send on the weekends. We don't have a lot of users that are sending on the weekends, but that is a gold nugget that you are getting follow up from your audiences at that time. So thanks for sharing, Erin.
Yeah, in fact, I get more responses on the weekends than I do throughout the week.
Wild. Interesting. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. I'm going to combine our next two questions because they're really asking like what does well? And Emily, I would love you to speak to how you get those opt-ins for your alumni, what your process looks like when someone graduates and how you get them into your messaging system so that they continue to interact with you. And then I would love to hear if Kate, I'm sorry, I said it backwards. Kate, how you interact. And then Emily, if you would love to share a little bit about what you have found has worked well. And then talk to us more, Erin, about your happy birthday messages. So Kate, share what you're doing. Emily, share what's working for you. And then Erin, talk to us about those happy birthday messages a little more.
Yeah, also, I love the idea of the happy birthday message. We send ours out via email, but I'm going to definitely take this to leadership and say, maybe this is a new test to learn for us. So we have two audiences that we're messaging within Mongoose. So we have our alumni. As new graduates come under the fold, we message them and introduce ourselves, and immediately we're offering them something of value. We say, what information can we provide to you? Because if you're just entering the workforce, if you're in a new city, if you want to connect with somebody in your field, but don't know how to find alumni in your area, this is our first point where we're able to say, we got you. We're still useful to you and we're always going to be there to support you. So our very first message says, congratulations. Hope everything's going well so far. Here are three or four options of links or contacts or information that we can provide you at your request. Smart message. For our family engagement team, we message parents, and the one area that has overwhelmed us, honestly, with response is asking them for good luck messages around midterms in the spring and fall semesters. So we shift which audience, which class years are receiving this ask so that they're not constantly being asked to send a good luck message. But we've gotten like a 5% response rate from parents just saying, I'm so proud of all of these students, keep it up. And I think that really does engender a positive relationship between the parent, who is also capable of being a donor and a supporter, and the university. We have a lot of people who, after they send the message, will say thank you. We'll share this with students around campus. And we do that by putting up like digital flyers around campus. They'll also follow up and say, thank you for taking such good care of my child. I feel so grateful that they've come here. So it's just really, really a positive way to build that connection.
I love that idea. Yeah, as far as Burnell goes, I'll also just add that my team, we start communicating with our alums like senior year because we've got a lot of exciting events, but also we are in charge of our like grad clearance form. So it's like, hey, you need to do this, and we can't wait to see you at graduation, all the things. So they kind of know who we are when we get to graduation. But as far as, making sure people don't opt out and they feel like they're getting value from us, we do have two different phone numbers. So one's for alumni and one's for development. Um, and I think it is really important to make sure that you're giving, value to your constituents in both channels if you don't have one. So we do like our impact report and like, if we do like Greek, week fundraiser or whatever, we'll send a photo of, all the Greek students saying thank you. Like there's a lot of ways that we can use that for stewardship as well. Um, but obviously I do not want people to unsubscribe from mine if they are just not willing to give or not at a place that they can give. A lot of recent grads just aren't, and that's okay. But we want them to stay engaged and informed. So my deliverable rates, they kind of average like 21% over the last 3 years. And Courtney's on this call. She's my girl. She told me we had a combined rate of 37%. So I'm really, really happy with that. And I think also it just depends on your community. We have a really chatty community that likes to talk to us and they want to know things. They're kind of nosy. So, they just want to know things and that's great. I'm not going to say when I was at Yale, that was not our rate and it can't be for everybody, but this is something that really works for our community. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think those are awesome and great points for sure. Yeah, if you're not using Cadence for birthday text messages, like I highly recommend that because Kate, just like you mentioned, we primarily used our email to send birthday messages because man, people love to hear happy birthday. I mean, it's wild to me, but they do. I get a huge response rate, positive response rate from those. And I haven't really, dove really far in, deep into the conversion rate between, a positive response to are they giving on a red day? I really need to look into that. But again, the response rates for those are tremendous. And, but yeah, I mean, that's where I really use the platform for. Again, I schedule those out. I send them on the day of the birthdays. That way, because whenever it was with the email, for some reason it had I could only do it like for the week, but whenever it's sent through a text message, like I said, I do it on the actual day, and they love it. They really do. So, and again, Saturdays and Sundays, I get more responses on the weekend than I do during the week. It's crazy.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. So, in addition to free t-shirts, happy birthday messages, and we're all happy campers. Wonderful. Erin, we actually have a question in the chat that I would love for you to answer. Is there an automated way to send the birthday text messages? Love that idea. So, bravo. Is there a way to automate it, or do you do it manually?
So I have to schedule them manually. There may be a way that I just don't know about, but every Monday morning I have the report sent to me that's been, it's been created by our data team. And it's for just, the birthdays for the week, and I schedule them out that way. I used to schedule, or I used to do the automated reply, you're welcome. I hope you have a great day, if they replied back. But now I find it more, I don't know, I find it more personal if I reply back on on my time. As sometimes it may be 30 minutes to an hour, but at least they know it's not like, they reply, then automatically it's you're welcome. I don't know, I feel like it's more personal that way. But I do schedule them out every Monday morning for the entire week. So I do Monday through Sunday.
I love that.
Great.
I love that. Oh, sorry, Kimberly.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead, Amy.
I just love that you do take that time and build it into your calendar to just get those messages scheduled. And I'm assuming, Erin, you've just made a template. So you're not typing happy birthday 27 times a week. You're just dropping that template in and they get it.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because there's some days where I have over 30, and I couldn't imagine typing happy birthday 30 plus times a day. So, no, for sure, I have a template.
I love it. Nice. Nice.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Emily and Kate, this next one is for you. I would love to hear about a real example of a campaign where texting significantly boosted the response or the turnout.
I'd be happy to share regarding our reunion. Every year we ask reunion participants to share photos and memories of their time on campus, and we use those in slideshows around campus, and we use them in email banners. We were really struggling to get people to participate via email requests, so we would email them a link to the form to submit. We sent it out via text message, and hundreds of photos came through. So just that instantaneous like removal of friction. I guess if people are getting the email, maybe they're looking at it on desktop and it's not as easy to go get their old yearbook or photo album, get a picture of it, whatever it was that made the phone so much easier for them to respond and reply, really just moved the needle significantly for us.
Yeah, I'll add that we didn't really have a lot going on for Giving Tuesday prior to the texting platform. But in 2023, we did implement this and we saw a 300% increase in our Giving Day. And we have trended upwards ever since. So I will definitely give credit where credit's due. Yeah.
Emily, your numbers are wild to me. Having a 37% reply rate, you said that, right? And then having a 300% increase year over year. I am blown away by those numbers and I love hearing them because that's just such a benefit to you and your institution and the impact you can make on your students. So
And
that's,
it's lovely to report those numbers to leadership of why
yeah,
I need this platform. Yes.
yeah, that's so helpful. I love that. I would love to hear from all of you. And maybe Emily, this is more a question you can answer, but I think Kate, you can contribute, and Erin, knowing that you work so closely with Shannon on your team. But I would love to know how you use Mongoose to re-engage alumni who've gone quiet on other forms of communication. We know like people change addresses and they change email addresses, but the phone number seems to, or the mobile number seems to be the thing that stays the same. Emily, share with me how you re-engage alumni, and then Kate and Erin follow up with any additional information you have.
Yeah, so like I said, we kind of kicked things off in 2023, and we texted folks, and they had not heard from Brenau in years, a lot of them, which is very sad. So they expressed how they, maybe felt like they didn't fit in or they didn't belong, or maybe their experience wasn't the best. And that was kind of right when I started, and all you can do is kind of build that bridge back up. So we're like, we're able to help in any way. Times have definitely changed. They're always welcome, just trying to mend that a little bit. And it's definitely been super helpful to kind of just open that two-way communication, have these conversations. And I'm happy to change anything in my system. Like if you want to be called something else or whatever, like, you just got to let us know. And then as far as like on campus, we've had a lot of siloed departments. Just over the years, my department kind of focused on certain groups of people, and maybe our grad programs were left to fend for themselves. So they kind of kept their alums close to them. But we have texted these alums and let them know about those departmental events. And they're happy to see that we care about those departmental events, but also now we're inviting them to broader events like Alumni Reunion Weekend and so forth, even maybe having certain events for them at these big events. And that's really opened up a lot of opportunities of support. Again, like if my colleague Tracy texts them about giving, it might be about our PT program that they care so much about, things like that.
I'd like to share, we do or this past year was our 125th anniversary, and we did a similar program where we were asking people for memories, favorite professors, etc., based on their affiliations. So if they were a student athlete, we asked them to share a team photo. If they were involved with Greek organizations, we specifically crafted the text based on what we knew that was important to them. And then everyone who fell outside of those categories and didn't have those affiliations, we asked them for their favorite professors and their most impactful lessons on campus. And we actually turned that into a whole blog series where we shared all of the professors who were repeatedly mentioned, life lessons, etc. We're trying to develop a program where we actually go to these professors who are still on campus and connect with them, and maybe film a session where they talk about the work they're doing now, but really showing our alumni how their voice is heard and it does impact the work that we do, so that we're reflecting what it is that is valuable to them. Additionally, listening to what people need and surprising and delighting them via text message is so much easier than any other platform. Twice we've had high figure donors text in as part of an engagement prompt, and we were able to respond in a way that they went back to their prospect manager or their gift officer and said, I had the best text message with somebody on your team. There was one where somebody had submitted a photo as part of the campaign, but they said, the photos, the image doesn't do this picture justice. I wish that it was, the colors were brighter. So I went to our design team and I said, can you adjust the colors on this image? And they were like, yeah, of course. So that quick and easy interaction, we sent it back to them and she was delighted. Another person responded, I don't have any photos of myself as a cheerleader on campus. That was a really meaningful time to me and my friends. So I went to the archives, our library archives, and they dug up photos of her and her friend group from the 80s. And like, I almost had to block her. She was responding so much, saying how grateful she was. Just really, really humanizing the experience so that it's not always a templated response or a click this link and then all of your answers will be off on that site. Really using this as much an interpersonal interaction as a networking event or an on-campus event where you're face to face with your alumni.
Aaron, do you want to add anything?
I was about to say that was great, y'all. I don't think I have anything else to add. That was great.
Awesome. Thanks. Alrighty. So we are getting really close to the end of our time together. And so we have had so many questions. This is what advancement does. We all want to learn from one another and we all want to just bounce ideas off one another. So I'm going to start asking some of those questions that we've received. So some of the questions we've had are around, opt-in messaging. Do you give an example of how, do you let your constituents know how often they're going to hear from you?
No.
We do with our first message to new alumni. We do try to limit to no more than about 2 messages per month. So we don't specify that that's what they should expect, but we do say we'll message you occasionally, just so that they're aware that it's not going to be like a weekly or a consistent thing.
Sure. Another common theme I'm seeing in some of the questions is our audience would love to know what CRM each of you is using.
I use RE/NXT.
Sure.
We use Salesforce.
So currently, it's a tricky question because currently we are using a very old called Millennium, but the contract is expiring this year, so we're going to I believe we're going to go to what's it called? Razor's Edge.
NXT. Yeah. Nice. So along those lines, some of the audience would love to know, do you have like student org involvement info? Are you keeping that info or entering that into your database? So that's a way, so it's a way you can segment. I see you nodding. Yes, Emily.
Yeah, we didn't have it in place a few years ago where like we get import lists from our registrar's office, and the functionality was there for student development and engagement. They populate those fields for us, and now that's being pulled into our reports, so it is added. It really came about because people will ask you like, oh, I want to get a reunion together for, the Glee Club. And I'm like, oh, I don't know who was in that. Yeah, so it's important.
Yeah, that sort of stuff is handled with a team of people on that end of the building, but yeah, we do have all that in our database as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Erin, your birthday messages. Oh, sorry, Kate, were you going to say something too? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we recently implemented an engagement rating and a volunteer rating. Those are based on how frequently you open emails and participate in communications or are active on campus. I'm not sure where exactly that data comes from, but that's a really useful way to slim down a send list. So if you're sending to everybody in the Pittsburgh area, but you really only want the ones who are going to be engaged, you can say anyone with 2+ star engagement rating, just to make sure that you're not over messaging people who may want to hear from you, but kind of might be on the edge there.
I love that. That's such a great idea. That's just to make sure you're targeting your best and your brightest. That's awesome. Erin, your birthday messages are so popular in the chat, and I have received a message internally that there might be a enhancement coming that can help with some automation and scheduling messages around a date. So everybody on the call, stay tuned. There might be something coming to make those birthday messages easier for you, Erin, but easier for everybody else who wants to implement that engagement opportunity. We have 2 minutes left, and so I just want to ask really quickly, do each of you have a 10-second question or 10-second piece of advice or piece of info we haven't covered that you want to share before we wrap up?
I'll say test and learn, and then test and learn again.
I love it.
What she said, I like that. That's good.
Yeah, I'll just say be authentic to you and your institution. I think that goes a really long way. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. I know we're going to wrap up here in the last 2 minutes. So just a reminder, we've got another webinar next month. I think that is on, couldn't remember the date, September 17th. So that is going to be all about the first year experience, helping our first time enrollees to college and to the universities, how we can make sure they feel included, they can feel welcomed, and they feel like they belong, and they know how to navigate those first few months and weeks on campus, and how Mongoose and texting can help with that.
And one last thing to wrap up, if you have not talked to your CSM about AI agents, you are missing out. Our AI agents help teams manage inbound conversations through texting in your inboxes by using AI to respond to commonly asked questions, provide timely, relevant information at scale. It helps reduce staff workload and response time so that your team members can really pay attention to those conversations that need the human element. Please reach out to your CSM if you are interested, and we will schedule time to chat.
Thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you again soon, and everybody have a great Thursday.